Am I the a-hole for telling my wife's siblings she is not their mother, and they are no longer children? My wife is the oldest in her family by 9 years. She was subjected to being a parent figure to her younger siblings by her parents, who were shitty and uninvolved parents to all 4 of them. Only difference was, while my wife was forced to raise herself, she was forced to raise her siblings, and she struggled with that. Her siblings view her as their mother. She did make sure they were okay, but once she was 18, she refused to be all they had, and they went into foster care due to the environment they were living in. My wife was forced to drop out of high school at 16 because she found it too much to handle and failed all her classes. At 18, she decided she needed to fight for her own future. This is part of why she made the decision to call CPS instead of raising her siblings. She got her GED, and she got a degree at a community college. We met while she was in the middle of doing this. She told me all about her childhood and how tough it was for her. She did see her siblings and stayed in their lives. They were sadly separated in foster care. They are now 21, 22, and 24 years old. They also still see my wife as their mother. They were jealous when our children were born, and my wife had to remove them from her life for a couple of years because they were angry at her for being a better mother to our first child than she was to them. Contact has been back for a little over a year now. They have not really changed. They made my wife feel guilty for pushing them aside instead of working on things. But then they make comment after comment about the effort she goes to for our kids, and how she never did that for them, and said it was hurtful to call our son her oldest child when she has them. My wife has told me she doesn't know what to do because their childhoods messed up their perception of her. I told her I would speak to them next time, so they stopped by Easter Sunday and were saying to my wife they wanted her to get photos done with them and our kids to show she's mom of all of them, and they are just as much her kids as our children are. I told them to stop, that their sister is not their mom, she's their sister. She was a child just like they were, and they are no longer children, and they need to start treating my wife as their sister, and not their mother who owed them a certain childhood. They told me I have no idea what I'm talking about and stormed out. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom's husband nobody will force him to attend my wedding if he doesn't want to be there? My mom met her husband Joe when I was 19 and not living with her. They got married when I was 22. I am now 26 and I am getting married. Joe is an okay guy. I have no issues with him, but I can't say we're close either. I have spent some time with him, but between college, working, living my own life, and not living in the same state as him and my mom, I haven't grown particularly close to him. Which is why when he asked to walk me down the aisle at my wedding, I said no. I chose to walk with my fiancé because it felt right. My mom would have been my next choice, but she does not like attention on her, and has mentioned before it would be uncomfortable for her to do. I believe Joe took this well at the time, but a few days ago, while he and my mom were visiting, he said I really hurt his feelings. He told me I never had a dad and he never had kids of his own, but he would love for me to be his daughter, and to be given the honor that many dads have been given before. He told me it would signify that he is more than just a husband for my mom, and that he is a father figure for me. I told him it was a sweet gesture, but that the answer was still no for me. He asked what I would say if he told me he could not come if he was not given the honor, and my response that nobody will force him to attend if he does not want to. I'm not sure if my answer offended him or just hurt his feelings badly. He said I had made my feelings clear, and he would not let me spit on him anymore. My mom told me he was clearly seething and she had no idea why he was so upset. BG for anyone who needs more info. My dad died when Mom was pregnant with me. They were married. It broke her heart. I always wished I could have known him. She did not date while I was a child. She focused on me. We are very close. As a kid, I used to dream of her walking me down the aisle, but she was clear it would be uncomfortable for her because of how shy she is. This is how I know about her feelings. She only started dating after I moved out for college, and she met Joe after dating around a bit. She seems very happy, and I am so happy for her. My mom is amazing and is very special to me. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend to stop using my life to get petty clout and to live her fantasy somewhere else? Hi all. First time posting, so sorry for any mistakes. I, 17F, have 8 older brothers. Without getting into much detail, there's a few adoptions and half-siblings in the miss, but I'm close to all of them, And while my life can be crazy sometimes, I wouldn't trade them for the world. It's also relevant that I don't have either of my parents in my life, and haven't since I was 11. The issue involves my close friend, 17F, who I've known since we were 4. For a year now, she's been posting on social media about her best friend's hot older brothers, and the tale of how she ended up in a love triangle with her best friend's brothers, and it's annoying. She's never really had anything to do with my brothers. They know her as my little sister's friend, and nothing more, so I really don't get where this is all coming from. Over the last few weeks, however, it's gotten worse. She'll tell stories to people at our school about the romance that is her life, and it's bringing me a lot of unwanted attention. I've tried to talk to her about it, but she always says that she'd never do anything to hurt me, and she's just living her life, which doesn't even make sense. I've mentioned it so many times that I've started to avoid hanging out with her because I know my brothers will come into it, and I'll have to ask her to knock it off again. Everything came to a head yesterday. We went out with some friends, and 4 of my brothers dropped us both off. When we got inside, half of the girls in the group started talking to my best friend about the good-looking guys in the car and whether those were the hot men she was talking about. I snapped and yelled, "Those are my brothers, and I swear to God," friend's name, "if you don't stop using my life to get clout, I'm cutting you off. Quit living your fantasy through me. Do it somewhere else." And left, which I feel like was really harsh and probably could have waited until we were in private. She called me later to tell me she wanted space from our friendship because I was become needy and controlling ever since she got close with my brothers, which isn't even remotely true. All of my brothers so far have told me to just stop being friends with her, but she's been really important in my life for a long time, and I don't want to ruin what we have. But at the same time, I don't want to keep letting her use my life for her fantasy. Am I the a-hole for not considering my family's schedule for my wedding? My fiancé, 28F, and I, 31M, have been together for over 4 years. We have always been very vocal with everyone about having a destination wedding. We love to travel, and weddings in the US are very expensive. We are paying for everything ourselves and receiving no financial help from family. All of our friends and family are pretty well off, especially my mom, who owns a very successful business. Last year, I finally popped the question to my now fiancé. We were ecstatic, and we started planning immediately. For the destination, we initially decided on my fiancé's hometown in Mexico. This is where the first issue started. My mom was questioning what there was to do around that area since they wanted to bundle the wedding with a vacation, and she didn't see the location as ideal. Second issue was that it wasn't fair that my fiancé's family got to have the wedding so close to their home when my family had to travel so far. So eventually we scratched Mexico as a destination spot and went with a more fair place where both sides had to travel. We ended up choosing Italy. Believe it or not, Italy is surprisingly affordable compared to the US. Note, we are paying for a 2-night stay in our venue for our immediate family, including siblings. I have 6, my fiancé has 2. For the date, we chose our 5th anniversary, which is October 2023. This date is sentimental to us, and it was 18 months away at the time, and long enough for everyone attending to plan their trip. This is where the largest issue ensued with my mom. She was extremely upset and blew up on me, putting it mildly, because the date that we chose for our wedding coincided with my brother's 16M HS football games, along with activities for my other 3 siblings, 14M, 7F, 7F. They accused us of being selfish and inconsiderate for picking such an inconvenient date, especially for my brother, 16M, since he is the quarterback of his team. According to her, it was impossible for him to skip a single game or practice, leaving him out of the wedding. They have threatened to not attend our wedding unless we change the date to summer or December to accommodate my siblings. If we were to change it, it would increase the cost for us and guests significantly due to high travel season. We chose this date because it meant something to us, and moving it was non-negotiable. My family still believes that we are targeting them and purposefully excluding them from the wedding. This has been very hard for me since I am a very non-confrontational person, but I am holding my ground. Everyone else is excited and very supportive. Over 40 people have already RSVP'd and started planning their trips, but my parents have not even bought tickets yet. Am I the a-hole for not changing my wedding date and by consequence excluding my brother? Am I the a-hole for having a celebration dinner after my brother's divorce? My brother just got his divorce finalized. No one in the family liked his wife. She was not a nice person. She'd ask for ideas on what to spend his money on. Was the type of person that celebrated her birthday for 2 weeks and expected everyone to do the same. There were many arguments over that when people in our family didn't show up for each and every event she planned or wore the shirts she'd make for her birthday, interrupt when people were talking to talk about herself, go running to our mother anytime she asked for something, and my brother told her no. The tipping point was when our mother was going through chemo. She had issues with her feet swelling and would elevate them while resting on the couch. The one time we all came to visit, my brother brought his wife, and she just took the pillow out from under Mom's feet to use it in the chair she was in because she was tired. Aside from expressing our concerns when they first started dating, we never said anything to him and tolerated her for his sake to not push him away and just griped amongst ourselves. Now they're divorced. The day that it was finalized, I took my brother out for dinner and invited some of our friends that hadn't been able to see him because of his wife. While we were at the restaurant, I toasted his new chapter in life. Someone said real classy, and it turned out one of XSIL's friends now works at the restaurant. We finished our dinner, left, went out for a while longer. I got home, and while watching a show with my wife, my phone was going off with notifications. All messages from my ex-SIL chewing me out for celebrating their divorce. Since my wife wanted to know who was messaging me, I showed her the messages, and she's of the mind that while she understands why no one liked my ex-SIL, celebrating their divorce and toasting it was a prick move. She thought I had been exaggerating when I said I was taking my brother out to celebrate. It's been a few days and my wife is still shaking her head at me over it. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for embarrassing my sister's friend and making her feel unwelcome? My sister, cousin, and a couple friends came over last night after work. My sister brought a friend of hers I'd only met a few times that I've never had an issue with. At one point, I went to the bathroom and the ladies were in the living room calmly enjoying wine. When I came out, my sister's friend was in the kitchen, arguing with my son. I asked her what she was doing. She said my son went into the kitchen to get food, and she told him to wait until I came out of the bathroom to ask me for permission. I stared at her for a second and then said, "Who the fuck are you? You don't live here." "He does. Who are you to tell him he can't go in his own kitchen?" She looked surprised and said she was trying to be helpful. I repeated my question of why she thought it was okay to tell someone they can't use their own kitchen when she's a guest in someone else's house. She dodged the question and then brought up that she's a teacher, which isn't even relevant, and sometimes kids try to get around rules. I asked her what that has to do with anything. I then asked who even gave her permission to go in my kitchen. She said she followed my son in. I said, "So you think my son needs permission to go in his own kitchen, but you can go wherever you like in my house without invitation? So you have more rights here than he does?" She said she didn't feel welcome anymore and was leaving. She went back in the living room, grabbed her bag, and walked out. My sister asked what happened, and I explained that she had a disagreement with my son. My cousin and some of the other ladies said they thought it was strange she followed him into the kitchen and had been wondering why she did that, and thought her motive was weird as hell. My sister and a couple other ladies said her behavior was perfectly normal and I was unnecessarily hostile to her. My cousin said, "But why would you confront a child you don't know instead of saying something to the aunt who's right here? That's so weird." Everyone but my sister acknowledged that part was weird, and we all moved on. Later, my sister confronted me privately and said she was upset I chased off her friend. She said she really likes this woman, and that I was way over the top in the way I spoke to her. I can be a little extra when it comes to defending my kid, so was I an asshole? Am I the a-hole for not letting my sister's kid come on vacation? I'm 25M and I have a sister 28F January of last year. I planned a week vacation to Paris with me, my sister, and her husband. Didn't mind that I would be third-wheeling because we're all very close friends/siblings, although we had to cancel due to their pregnancy announcement. Obviously, I was more than happy for her, but still asked her why she couldn't come to Paris since she wasn't that far along. I respected her wishes to wait, and that's when I decided to have to flight sometime next year, aka 2023. Finally, November rolled around and they had a cute kid named Daniel. Now it's March, and I said to my sister, "So you excited for the trip?" With a huge grin, she said that she's delighted to bring Daniel with her. I made a face, which she saw right away. You're bringing him with you? This led to a very heated agreement, where she couldn't just leave the baby, and I told her maybe Max, her husband, stayed and we went together. Boom! She yelled how inconsiderate I was being. Then you three stay and I'll go by myself. I suggested that an even more agreeing started. She stormed out and called me an asshole for saying such flabbergasting things. I just thought a baby would make this not a vacation, and more of a you go see the Eiffel Tower and I'll stay at the hotel all day with the baby. Am I really the asshole? Thanks for watching. Make sure to leave your stories in the comments section. I'd love to make a video about them in the future. Make sure to like and subscribe too.